Do you often find yourself overwhelmed by panic? Does your heart race at the thought of facing the unknown? Are you tired of the grip that sudden anxiety has on your life? Do you wish you could face challenges without fear? Are you ready to take control and eliminate panic for good? This guide introduces you to the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy, a proven pathway to overcoming panic. It provides practical strategies to help you calm your mind, steady your nerves, and approach life's uncertainties with confidence and composure. You'll learn how to break the cycle of panic by understanding and managing your reactions to stress-inducing situations. Embrace these lessons and start your journey toward a serene, panic-free existence. Are you ready to reclaim your peace of mind? My life has been ruled by chaos and stress for a while now. A long time ago, I was constantly stressed out. I was always down, angry, tired, and uninspired, and I would hurt the people I cared about. When things were out of my control, I would say mean things to people I love. Every little problem seemed like an impossible peak when I was in a sea of fears and concerns, and my inner self was always being upset. That's when I learned about the ideas behind Stoic philosophy, which is a wise tradition that has stood the test of time. When I used these lessons in my everyday life, I went through a huge change. I learned to tell the difference between what I could control and what I couldn't. I got into a state of mind that was calm, strong, and clear, and it changed how I dealt with problems. Today, I want to talk about some Stoic ideas that have helped me stay calm when things got crazy. We will also talk about useful methods based on these ideas that can definitely give you the same sense of peace and balance that made my life better. Seneca said, "Life is like a good book. The beauty does not depend on how many pages there are, but on its good content." Join me today in Philosophy for Winners on this trip of discovery. These ancient lessons will change the way you see life's storms and lead you to the inner peace you've been looking for. The first Stoic concept is to know what you can control and what you can't. For Epictetus, one of the most important Stoic thinkers, there are things that are within our power and things that are not. We are asked to understand and accept the amount of power we have in our lives by this basic concept. People are told to put their energy and effort into things they can directly control, like their acts, attitudes, and beliefs. While on the other hand, it tells us to be calm about things we can't change, like other people's acts or events or situations outside of our control. Imagine you have a problem at work. You have control over how dedicated you are, how hard you work, how you handle the situation, and how you talk to your bosses or co-workers. You can't change other people's choices, though, or things that happen that are out of your control. A feeling of strength will come from focusing on what you can change, while anxiety caused by things you can't change will go away. This theory, which is based on the idea of the area of control, tells us to accept what we can't change and not worry too much about it. We shouldn't be upset about things we can't change. Instead, it should push us to focus on and work on things we can change. Second Stoic principle, learn to accept things as they are. Marcus Aurelius, one of the Roman emperors and a Stoic philosopher, bequeathed us this principle. If you do not control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond to what happens to you. Acceptance lies in embracing circumstances as they are, without unnecessary resistance or opposition. Acceptance does not imply passive resignation, but recognizing the reality of a situation and working accordingly. Imagine a situation in which you are faced with the loss of a job. The practice of acceptance allows you to deal with this event in a more serene way. Instead of denying the situation or resisting acceptance, it allows you to see it clearly and seek effective solutions. This attitude frees you from the suffering that comes from fighting the inevitable. Learning to accept gives us a clearer perspective and enables us to face challenges with greater emotional balance. It allows us to set aside the struggle against the impossible and focus our energies on what is within our reach, thus facilitating the path to calm and wisdom in the midst of life's vicissitudes. Third Stoic principle: focus on the present moment. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, affirmed, "The present is the only treasure we have been given and the only one in which we can act." This principle urges us to live in the present moment, focusing on the here and now. It invites us to avoid worrying about the past or anxiety about the future by focusing on what is happening in the present moment. When you focus on the present, you can concentrate your attention and energy on the actions you are taking right now. For example, when faced with a challenging project, living in the present allows you to focus on current tasks, avoiding ruminating on past mistakes or anxiety about what is to come. This attitude gives you mental clarity and allows you to perform your tasks more effectively. Living in the present not only increases your effectiveness, but also gives you a sense of fulfillment. It allows you to appreciate the small joys of life and experience each moment with greater intensity and awareness, which in turn fosters calmness and serenity. Fourth Stoic principle: cultivate the virtue of serenity. Epictetus gave us a pearl of wisdom when he said, "First tell yourself what you are, and then act accordingly." The fifth Stoic concept is to be self-disciplined. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not over external events." Self-discipline is the ability to direct our actions, emotions, and thoughts with control and purpose. It encourages use to resist, the urge to give in to fleeting impulses or automatic reactions. The sixth Stoic principle is to use your reasoning wisely. Cicero, who was very wise, said, "Never do a worse wrong to protect or avenge a wrong. That will not heal the first." This theory tells us to think about things carefully and calmly and not respond hastily or without reason. To make wise choices, you need to carefully think about what's going on before you act or decide what to do. For instance, when we are in a fight, using our reasoning, lets us look at the situation clearly and pick answers that are in line with reason and virtue, instead of giving in to our feelings at the time. We can improve our mental focus and avoid making rushed or wrong choices by using thoughtful reasoning. This helps us make better choices based on reason and virtue and keeps our emotions in check. Seventh Stoic principle: try to be detached. Epictetus advised us to learn to detach yourself from the flow of events in order to avoid suffering. Distancing yourself from things, ideas, or results means not being too attached to them. It tells us that real happiness is not something that comes from having things. By working on separation, we can learn to enjoy things without being personally tied to them. When we lose someone or something surprising happens, for example, detachment helps us accept it with more peace of mind because we know that our happiness and worth don't depend on what other people do. By separating our happiness from changes in the outside world, practicing detachment frees us from anxiety and gives us a feeling of emotional freedom. This doesn't mean not caring or being interested. It means being able to enjoy and respect things without our health being affected by them. The eighth Stoic concept is to learn to be thankful. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the mother of all others, Seneca told us. When we are grateful, we value and appreciate what we have instead of dwelling on what we don't have, as it encourages us to become more grateful for the good things in our lives. Expressing thanks helps us keep a fair view of things by keeping our attention on the good things. For example, being thankful helps us see what we have and what we have been given when things are hard, which makes us feel better and more in control of our minds. A grateful attitude ties us to the good things in our lives, which makes us happier and gives us more mental strength to deal with problems. Practicing thanks changes the way we see the world around us for the better by helping us find happiness and satisfaction in the little things. The 9th Stoic concept is to become strong. Marcus Aurelius said, "Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional." To be resilient, you need to be able to get back up after something bad happens and learn and grow from it. It tells us to face problems with courage instead of letting them get the best of us. By becoming more resilient, we learn that what causes us to suffer is not the events themselves, but how we respond to them. For example, resilience gives us the strength to get through hard times, like losing someone or failing at something, and move on, learning from the experience and getting stronger in the process. We can adapt to change and face problems with more strength when we are resilient. It also gives us the tools to stay calm and keep going even when things get hard. 10th Stoic principle, show understanding. Epictetus first told us to speak the truth and then have your say. Empathy means understanding and caring about other people, realizing that we all have problems and issues. It asks us to look past our differences and help those around us. By showing empathy, we connect with others more deeply, which helps us see things from their points of view and feel what they feel. For instance, empathy helps us understand other people's thoughts and feelings during times of conflict, which leads to a more peaceful settlement of those differences. Empathy helps people understand and help each other, which makes relationships better and more peaceful. We improve our relationships with others and make the world a more caring and understanding place by cultivating this trait. 11th Stoic principle, look at things in a bigger picture. Seneca said, "No wind is favorable to one who does not know to what port he is heading." This idea tells us to look at the big picture instead of just the small details. It asks us to take a step back from the present and see things in a bigger picture. Keeping a bigger picture in mind helps us stay focused on our main objectives. For example, when we run into problems with a project, having an overall view helps us see how those problems fit into the bigger picture and comes up with ways to get around them. This attitude enables us to make more intelligent and smart choices, avoiding losing sight of our most important goals rather than getting bogged down by every little failure. Keeping a broad view helps us focus on what's important and gives us the strength to face obstacles with more clarity and drive. The 12th Stoic concept is to learn to forget. Epictetus says that if someone hurts you, why make things worse by hurting yourself? When you forgive someone, you let go of the mental weight of anger and bitterness. It tells us to let go of our anger toward people who have hurt us. When we forgive, we free our minds and hearts from things that aren't required. For example, when we forgive someone, we let go of our anger. This gives us peace of mind and lets us move on without the weight of anger. Forgiving someone doesn't mean we agree with or accept their bad behavior. Instead, it means we let go of the mental pain that comes with holding a grudge. By learning to forgive, we help ourselves get better and free ourselves from the negative effects of other people's pain. This lets us move on with our lives with more ease and clarity. The 13th Stoic concept is to become more humble. We learned from Marcus Aurelius that you shouldn't get caught up in the past or the future. Instead, you should gear your mind toward what is happening right now. When we are humble, we are willing to see our flaws and learn from them. We are encouraged to keep an open mind and be ready to learn new things all the time. To be humble, we need to understand that we don't know everything and that we can always improve. For instance, being humble makes us open to new ideas and feedback when we're learning or working as a team. This helps us learn more and gives us the chance to get better. Being humble keeps us from being cocky and helps us connect with others on an equal level. By having this attitude, we create a space where people value each other and work together, which helps us learn from all the interactions we have. The 14th Stoic concept is to learn to be patient. Epictetus advised, "Do not expect things to happen the way you want them to happen, but rather expect them to happen the way they happen, and you will do well." When we have patience, we can accept that some things take time and effort to happen. It tells us to keep our cool while we wait for things to happen or results to come in. We learn to deal with doubt and long wait times by learning patience. For example, when we're working toward long-term goals, patience gives us the peace of mind to keep going even when things get hard. It lets us keep going even when we don't see results right away. We can become more tolerant of time and processes when we practice patience. This gives us the strength to deal with problems without getting angry. A fair view is possible because of this virtue, which helps us know that success often takes time and hard work. 15th Stoic principle: do things in a balanced way. Seneca wrote, "It is a vice to want more time than we have been given." This idea tells us to act and make choices in a moderate and fair way. We must have the courage to stay moderate in our decisions and to stay away from extremes. By finding balance, we keep ourselves from going too far or too short. For example, finding balance at work and in our free time keeps us from overworking or neglecting things, which makes our lives feel more harmonious and good. Balance helps us keep a better and more consistent picture of what we're doing, so we don't go back and forth between extremes, which can make us emotionally unstable. This virtue helps us make decisions in a calmer and smarter way, which leads to a more peaceful and happy life. 16th Stoic principle: think about things every day. According to Epictetus, we are not disturbed by things, but by the opinions we have about things. This idea encourages us to think about ourselves and reflect every day. It tells us to regularly look at our ideas, thoughts, and behaviors. We can get more understanding and peace of mind by reflecting every day. For instance, taking time to think at the end of each day lets us look back at what we did, figure out how we felt, and learn from our mistakes, which gives us a chance to grow and get better. We can fix our mistakes and move forward with more knowledge when we think every day. It gives us a chance to change our path, get better at our habits, and strengthen our link to our ideals and goals, which leads to a healthier and more aware life. The 17th Stoic concept is to accept that things change. To understand that everything in life is temporary and can change, we should remember what Marcus Aurelius said: "All that is of a temporal nature is nothing before eternity." It tells us to accept that things change over time and not hold on too tightly to things that will change. When we accept that things change over time, we understand that everything in life has a circle of starting, growth, and end. In personal or business relationships, for example, knowing this helps us value the present times and shared experiences, even though they may not be the same in the future, so we can enjoy them more. Because we know that life is always changing, this acceptance helps us deal with changes and deaths more calmly. Accepting that things will change helps us let go of our resistance to it, which makes life easier to go through. The 18th Stoic principle is to encourage the virtue of mind peace. Epictetus said, "What bothers us is not what happens, but what we think about what happens." This principle tells us to keep our minds calm and peaceful no matter what is going on around us. It tells us to train our minds to stay cool when bad things happen. Developing mental peace helps us deal with problems in a smarter and more calm way. As an example, learning mental calm can help us deal with difficult or stressful situations by keeping our minds clear and balanced. This way, we don't respond out of feeling or a lack of control. By keeping a calm attitude in tough situations, this virtue helps us make better decisions and handle things better. Having peace of mind protects us from mental disturbances and helps us face problems with more clarity and calm. Developing the virtue of balance is the 19th Stoic principle. Seneca wrote, "The wise man is he who does not grieve for what he does not have, but rejoices for what he does have." We should try to find balance in our deeds and wants and stay away from excesses, according to this theory. In it, it tells us not to get too excited about joys or things. By practicing balance, we can keep ourselves from going into extreme lack or overindulgence. When it comes to managing resources or buying things, moderation helps us keep a healthy balance by keeping us from accumulating or throwing away too much. This, in turn, makes our lives more satisfying and harmonious. This virtue helps us stay on a more stable path and keep us from acting in extreme ways that throw us off balance. When we act in moderation, our emotions stay more stable and we have more control over our actions. This makes our life more calm and rewarding. 21st Stoic principle: learn to enjoy the simple things in life. Epictetus told us, "First tell yourself what you are and then act in line with that." This theory tells us to enjoy the simple things in life, to value what's important, and not to focus too much on wants or problems that aren't necessary. We learn to be thankful for the little things when we learn to enjoy the simple things in life. For instance, when we appreciate nature, our relationships with others, or the things we do every day, we can find joy in the easy things and be happier without having to do anything big. We feel happier and more at ease when we have this attitude, which lets us see the beauty and joy in the simple things in life. Being grateful for the simple things in life makes us more calm and helps us focus on what's important, which makes our lives more fulfilling and harmonious. People who live in a world full of the dizziness of everyday life always want to find peace. How do we stay relaxed when everything around us is going crazy and our days are stressful? The Stoic way shows us the way. It's only the beginning to look into these old ideas. Now I'm going to tell you the secret, helpful and effective ways to bring peace and calm into your daily life. The words, "these tools," are not just words. They are the way to a calm and healthy mind. Imagine being able to stay calm every morning, no matter what problems come your way. The techniques I'm about to tell you about aren't just ideas. They are things you can do that will change the way you see things. The first step is to practice being aware. Meditation and practicing awareness are the first steps to becoming calm in the middle of everyday life. The main parts of this approach are meditation, focusing on the current moment, and observing without judging. When you meditate every day, you can let go of the problems of the past and the unknowns of the future and focus on the here and now. By doing this, you learn to be aware of your feelings and thoughts without letting them take over. Mindfulness gives you a sense of balance and focus, which helps you deal with the difficulties of daily life with a calmer and stronger mind. It also keeps your fears from taking over your mind. Inward calm will last longer if you do this. Plan 2. Write in a journal. Writing in a journal is a strong way to absorb and use Stoic ideas in your everyday life. By taking a moment at the end of each day to write down your thoughts, feelings and experiences, you can start to learn more about yourself and put these ideas into practice. You can look back at how you handled certain scenarios by writing down your feelings and thoughts. By noticing trends in your thoughts and actions, this practice helps you find places where the Stoic principles can help you stay calm. The reflecting book turns into a mirror where you can look at your actions, learn from them, and plan how to live a more peaceful and happy life. This exercise gives you strength, which helps you understand and better use Stoic ideas in your everyday life. Strategy 3. Consciously following the rules of Stoicism. The most important part of Stoic thought is following its rules with awareness. These principles are always being asked to be at the top of your mind at important times in your life. It's about making smart choices and using Stoic advice in your everyday life. To get through a tough scenario, it's helpful to remember the Stoic ideals. Ask yourself, what can I control and what can't I control? You should accept the things you can't change and work on the things you can. Plan 4. Learn to be grateful. Being grateful is one of the most important things you can do to find inner peace. To keep a healthy view, you need to focus on the good things in your life and appreciate them instead of dwelling on the bad. Write down what you are thankful for at the start or end of each day. This helps you focus on the good things in your life. This habit not only makes you more grateful for what you have, but it also helps you have a better attitude. By strengthening your resolve and fostering a sense of inner peace, cultivating gratitude gives you a tool to combat stress and anxiety and to view life more positively. Thanks for coming with me on this path to peace of mind. These tactics, which are based on Stoic ideas, are very useful for finding peace in the busyness of everyday life. Remember that if you use these methods all the time, you can not only understand the Stoic theory, you can also live it. You can find peace within yourself, deal with problems calmly, and find calm in the middle of a storm with these tools. Remember that you are calm. You should use these techniques every day and see how they change your life for yourself. Thanks for your hard work and time. As you work to make your life more balanced and calm, I wish you peace and quiet. We all have times when we feel lonely, anxious, or depressed. These feelings may seem overwhelming and hard to get over, but the ancient Stoics taught us that the best way to deal with them is with inner strength and a practical mind. Think about being surrounded by a thick cloud of loneliness. Every thought and feeling seems to be hidden by this cloud. Even for people who seem to have everything together, loneliness can be too much to handle. The Stoics, on the other hand, taught us that loneliness is not something to be afraid of, but rather a chance to develop our inner strength and find meaning in our lives. Anxiety and sadness are both very hard feelings. We can get lost in a cloud of bad feelings and feel helpless in the face of life. But the Stoics tell us that these feelings are normal for people and that we can learn to deal with them in a healthy way. The first part of this article will look at 13 Stoic ways to turn these difficult feelings into chances to grow and think about yourself. These techniques are not magic bullets, but they are useful tools we can use to heal our spirits and see things more clearly. From self-examination to accepting things outside of our control, each approach in the Stoic toolbox serves a different purpose and is useful in its own way. When things get tough, these tools help us get through them and find strength. The idea of inner strength is one of the most important ideas in Stoicism. We can all face our feelings head-on and come out better on the other side, just like the old Stoics did. Inner strength doesn't mean ignoring or hiding our feelings. It means learning how to deal with them in a kind and wise way. First, don't hold back your feelings. One of the first important things we learn on the path to Stoicism is not to hold back our feelings. For many of us, the first thing we do when we feel lonely, anxious, or depressed is to try to hide those feelings, deny they exist, or even fight them. Stoics, on the other hand, teach us that this is not a good way to handle our feelings. We shouldn't try to hide them. Instead, we should fully accept and recognize them. In other words, we should let ourselves feel lonely, anxious, or sad without judging them as good or bad. As humans, we have to deal with them, and ignoring them will only make our pain worse. We can start to understand our feelings and why they are in our lives better if we accept them. Maybe feeling lonely comes from wanting to connect with others more deeply, or maybe nervousness comes from being worried about the future. By understanding and accepting our feelings, we can start to figure out what's making them happen and deal with them better. Once we accept our feelings completely, we can choose how to deal with them in a healthy way. When we feel sad or lost, we don't have to give up. Instead, we can find ways to deal with our feelings with courage and drive. This could mean taking real steps to deal with the things that are making us feel bad, like getting help from friends or family, seeing a professional, or doing things for yourself like meditation or exercise. Self-examination means regularly taking time to think about your deeds, feelings, and thoughts. Look at how you respond to different scenarios and try to find trends that might be making you feel lonely, anxious, or depressed. Self-examination is an important part of Stoicism because it helps us understand our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. By doing self-examination, we can look closely at our feelings, thoughts, and actions and start to see trends that might be making us feel lonely, anxious, or depressed. Second, remember what happened, but don't hold on to it. It's also important to learn from the past without hanging on to it. It's normal to think about the things that happened in the past because they can teach us important lessons and help us grow. But we should be careful not to get stuck in regret or nostalgia, because that can keep us from living fully in the present and being clear and determined as we move into the future. It's important to think about the things that happened in the past with an open mind and knowledge. We can learn to see our experiences as chances to grow and change as people instead of dwelling on what could have been or hanging on to mistakes we've made in the past. We can discover something new about ourselves and the world around us with each task we face and each mistake we make. Yet, it is very important to keep in mind that the past is over and we can't change it. Recognizing that some things in life are out of our control is a big part of accepting what we can't change. We may find it hard to accept this truth, especially when we desperately wish things were different. We can avoid the stress and worry that come from trying to control things that we can't, though, if we accept that there are limits to what we can do or change in the world around us. Learning to tell the difference between things we can control and things we can't is a big part of accepting what we can't change. Stoic thought says that we can only control our own actions and emotions, not the things that happen to us or the way things turn out. You can feel more peaceful and calm if you put your attention on the things you can control. This doesn't mean we should just accept the problems and tasks in life while doing nothing. By understanding what we can't change, on the other hand, we can focus on real steps we can take to make things better. We don't have to waste time and energy thinking about things we can't control. Instead, we can put it to good use by taking steps that will help us get closer to our dreams. Acceptance takes courage and humility. This makes us see things as they really are, not how we wish they were. Nevertheless, by doing so, we can feel freer and more powerful again. We can find more inner peace and happiness no matter what is going on around us if we stop trying to control everything that happens in our lives. Being grateful is one way to help us accept things as they are in our lives. We can learn to appreciate life more for what it is instead of how we wish it were by focusing on the things we are thankful for. Likewise, being thankful helps us see the good things we already have instead of dwelling on the things we don't have or wish we did. Finally, we can find more peace and happiness in our lives if we accept the things we can't change. If we know our limits and focus on the things we can control, we can stop the stress and worry that comes from trying to control every part of our lives. This can give us a greater sense of freedom and well-being, no matter what is going on around us. Fourth, find your heart. A better, more peaceful life is possible if we follow Stoic ideals. They help us find our center. To handle the rough seas of life with grace and strength, you need to work on your inner peace. The Stoics teach us that we can find this peace by doing things like being aware and thinking about ourselves. Being fully present in the present moment without judging our feelings or thoughts is what mindfulness is all about. Instead of responding immediately, it asks us to look at our thoughts and feelings with interest and kindness. It is possible to find peace and understanding even when things are going wrong by practicing awareness. Introspection, on the other hand, means exploring our inner feelings, thoughts, and reasons for doing things. It helps us get to know ourselves better and figure out what makes us want to live. We can learn to recognize and change thought and behavior habits that may be making us suffer by taking time to reflect on them on a regular basis. When we practice awareness and think about ourselves, we can learn to find our inner center even when things are hard. We don't have to let outside feelings and events bring us down. Instead, we can work on finding peace and balance inside ourselves. This makes it possible for us to handle life's problems with kindness and strength instead of giving up. To find our center, we have to let go of the things we want and expect that keep us tied to happiness outside of ourselves. The Stoics tell us that real happiness doesn't come from getting more stuff or being successful in the outside world. Instead, it comes from finding peace within yourself that doesn't depend on what's going on in the outside world. Freedom from the need to control or change our surroundings in order to be happy can give us a deeper and longer-lasting feeling of satisfaction and joy. Regular meditation is a strong way to develop this inner peace. Meditation gives us a place to clear our minds and get in touch with our true selves. We can learn to feel calm and clear all day long by making time for this practice on a daily basis. There are many ways to find inner peace besides meditation. Some examples are yoga, tai chi, or just spending time in nature. These activities help us connect more deeply with our bodies and the world around us, which helps us find peace and balance in the busyness of modern life. Finding our center is a personal journey that needs commitment and practice over and over again. But if we stick with this process, we can learn to live with more peace and strength, no matter what happens around us. We can live a better, more worthwhile life and handle life's problems with grace and drive if we can find peace within ourselves. Fifth, be thankful for what you have. Being grateful is one of the most important parts of Stoicism. Focusing on what we don't have instead of appreciating what we do have can keep us stuck in a cycle of constant wanting and pining. The Stoics tell us how important it is to have an attitude of thanks toward life and all its blessings, big and small. Being thankful helps us see things in a different light and concentrate on the good things instead of the bad. We don't have to be sad about what we don't have. We can learn to respect what we do have. But this doesn't mean we should be happy with the way things are. Instead, it means we should learn to find happiness and satisfaction in the little things that happen every day. Being thankful for what we have in our lives makes us happier and more fulfilled. We can find constant happiness and contentment by learning to value small daily blessings like a beautiful sunset or a meaningful conversation with a loved one. Instead of looking for happiness in other people or things, we can learn to find it within ourselves by deeply appreciating life and all its wonders. One strong way to grow gratitude is to regularly think about and be thankful for what you have at the end of each day. Take a moment to think about what you're thankful for. Things like health and love from family and friends can be big or small, like a warm cup of tea or a walk in the woods. By doing this, we train our minds to think about the good things in life instead of the bad, which leads to a grateful attitude that affects every part of our lives. Aside from thinking about gratitude every day, we can also show it by doing small acts of kindness for other people. You can improve your relationships with the people around you by showing them thanks. It will also help you develop a grateful attitude in your own life. When we notice and enjoy the good things that other people do for us, We learn to value the good things that happen to us every day even more. It is important to remember that being thankful does not mean ignoring or downplaying the problems and challenges we face. We all go through hard times and moments of pain, but there is always something to be thankful for, even when things are bad. Not only do we learn to find happiness and satisfaction in the little things in life by practicing gratitude, but we also gain more fortitude and strength to deal with the difficulties that life throws at us. Being thankful is a strong tool that can help us live happier, more fulfilling lives. By learning to value and respect the good things in our lives, we can find happiness and peace that doesn't depend on what's going on around us. Having a thankful attitude can change how we see the world and bring more peace and quiet into our lives. Sixth tip: be present. Stoicism teaches us to live in the present, which means we should stop worrying about the future and feeling bad about the past, and instead focus on the here and now. The Stoics tell us that the present is all we have, so we should focus our attention and energy there. When we worry too much about the future or feel bad about the past, it keeps us from living in the present and making the most of what we have at this very moment. Being more connected to ourselves and the world around us is one of the main reasons why living in the moment is so important. We miss out on the beauty and wealth of the moment when we are always worried about the future or feeling sad about the past. Being in the present moment can help us feel more at peace and fulfilled by letting go of the fears and regrets that hold us back from the past or the future. Being in the present moment also helps us do things better and more efficiently. We can focus all of our attention and energy on the job at hand when we are fully present in what we are doing. This lets us do our best and get better results. If we worry about the future or feel bad about the past all the time, on the other hand, our actions are likely to be less successful and we will be less pleased with the results. Meditation and awareness are two ways to help you learn to live in the present. Being mindful helps us train our minds to be more aware of and in the present moment. Meditation and careful observation are two methods that can help us let go of fears and other things that keep us from being fully present in the present moment. Radical acceptance is another good way to live in the present. To do this, you have to accept reality as it is right now without judging it or trying to change it. You can free yourself from the pain that comes from fighting what already is and find more peace and calm in your life by accepting things as they are. Living in the moment does not mean forgetting the past or the future. This is important to keep in mind. It is important to think about the future and remember what we have done in the past. We miss out on the beauty and fullness of life in the present moment, though, when we worry about what will happen or feel bad about what has already happened. We can feel more at peace and satisfied with our lives if we learn to live in the present and make the most of what we have right now. Number 7. Build connections that matter. A key part of Stoicism's path to a full and happy life is building important connections. Stoics know that connections with other people are very important for finding happiness and virtue. In a world that is becoming more and more technically linked, but often emotionally detached, it is important to remember how important it is to build real, meaningful connections. Relationships based on virtue and kindness are a great way to get support, comfort, and help yourself grow. We can find a greater sense of purpose and value in our lives by looking for real relationships with other people. These relationships give us a safe place to talk about our worries and joys and to get help and support when we need it the most. To build a lasting relationship in the Stoic tradition, you should look for people with whom you share beliefs and virtues. We look for friends and partners who share our morals and views, who push us to be better people, and who encourage us to live by our greatest standards. These ties not only help us feel better emotionally, but they also help us grow as people. A big part of building strong relationships is being able to talk about our problems with close friends. We don't have to carry our mental weight alone. We can ask people we know for help and their opinion. When we let others in on our deepest problems and share them with them, we improve our emotional bonds and find comfort in the knowledge that those around us understand and care. But it's important to remember that the number of people in our lives doesn't tell us much about the strength of our relationships. What matters is how deep and real those ties are. Having a few deep and real ties is better than having a lot of shallow and empty ones. We can build a strong and long-lasting network of support that makes our lives better in real ways by putting time and effort into our closest relationships. People today value independence and freedom, which can make it easy to forget how important partnerships are to our mental and spiritual health. The Stoics, on the other hand, tell us that we are social by nature and that our ties with other people are very important to our search for happiness and virtue. We can find more connection and purpose in our lives, as well as the help we need to deal with the problems we will surely face along the way, by building relationships based on virtue and kindness. Eighth, work on being detached. As followers of Stoicism, the idea of separation is very important to our search for peace and knowledge. As Stoics tell us, we should not count on material things or demands from other people. Instead, we should realize that our worth as humans is not based on what we own or what we accomplish. We can free ourselves from the weight of social worries and find more inner freedom through detachment. You can find more mental and emotional peace by letting go of your attachment to things and other people's demands of you. We learn to find happiness within ourselves, in our own core and identity, instead of looking for it in things we own or things we achieve on the surface. Adopting a distance attitude doesn't mean giving up all of our goals or belongings. It means removing our emotions from these things. Realizing that financial things and outside demands are not the only things that can make us happy or fulfilled, and letting go of them, we can find more peace and balance in our lives no matter what is going on in the outside world. Thinking about and reflecting on your own is one way to learn separation. When we take the time to think about our own views and values, we can see where we are too dependent on things or demands from other people. When we become aware of these places of connection, we can start to work on letting go of them and feeling more free inside. Being thankful for what we have in the present moment is another way to learn separation. We can develop a detached attitude toward material things and outside standards by focusing on the good things we already have in our lives instead of worried about what we don't have. Being aware that everything changes makes us less attached to things and more able to enjoy and value them while they are in our lives. It's important to remember that practicing detachment doesn't mean giving up all of our goals or belongings. Instead, it means developing an attitude of mental distance toward these things. We can find more peace and balance in our lives no matter what is going on around us if we let go of our over-attachment to material things and demands from other people. Number 0, get stronger. Being resilient is an important part of the Stoic way of life, which encourages us to face problems with courage and persistence. Stoics tell us that problems should not bring us down, but should be seen as chances to learn and get better. We all face problems and challenges in life that can test our strength and drive. It could be a personal loss, a setback at work, or a world crisis. Being resilient helps us face these problems with courage and drive. Stoicism holds that while we cannot control what happens to us, we can control how we react to it. This is one of its main tenets. The Stoics urge us to adopt an attitude of acceptance and action rather than letting fear or sadness overwhelm us in the face of difficulties. Getting stronger means having a growth and learning attitude instead of seeing problems as things that can't be solved. We see them as chances to learn and grow. Each task gives us the chance to fortify ourselves and gain new views and skills. Being resilient also means learning to change with the times and come up with new ways to solve problems instead of sticking to a plan that you already have. We learn to be adaptable and willing to try new things. One important part of becoming more resilient is learning how to control our feelings so that we don't give in to fear, anger, or sadness when things get hard. Mindfulness training helps us stay calm and focused, which lets us make better choices even when things are tough. Building a strong and caring support network is another part of being resilient. It's important to have friends, family, and teachers who can help you through hard times by giving you mental support and useful advice. We can find comfort and strength in human relationship when we talk about our problems and situations with other people. Building resilience is an ongoing process that needs hard work and practice. We gain the strength to face future difficulties with courage and determination as we confront and beat problems in life. We can find more peace and happiness in our lives, even when things are really hard, if we have a resilient attitude. 10th, face your fears. Stoicism says that facing our fears is an important part of growing as people and as spiritual beings. The Stoics teach us to recognize our fears and take steps to get over them. They know that the thought of what might happen can be more scary than the actual event itself. The first step to facing our fears is to figure out what they are. It's important to think about our greatest worries and fears, because only by naming them can we start to deal with them in a healthy way. Stoics give us the courage to be honest with ourselves about our worries and not be afraid to face the truth about what is making us nervous. As soon as we know what our fears are, we need to work on getting over them. In order to learn how to better control our feelings and behaviors, this may include putting ourselves in situations that make us anxious in a controlled way. The Stoics tell us that the only way to be truly brave is to face your fears with courage and determination. We often find that the thought of our fears is worse than the actual fear itself when we face them with courage. We often find that our fears are not nearly as scary as we thought they were when we face them head-on. We feel better about ourselves and our ability to deal with the problems we face in life because of this. When we face our fears, they can't control us anymore. When we avoid events that make us feel anxious, we let our fears control what we do and what we experience. However, when we face our fears and learn how to deal with them, we take back control of our lives and make our own plans for the future. It's important to understand that meeting our fears doesn't always mean getting rid of them. Some fears may be deeply ingrained in our minds and take a long time to get over. We are getting closer to the freedom and honesty we want in our lives, though, with every small step we take. Genuine courage is not being afraid, but being able to act even though you are scared. We get closer to reaching our full potential and living a life of virtue and meaning by facing our fears with courage and drive. 11. Find value in the things that are hard. In order to grow and progress as people, we need to look for value in our pain. The Stoics teach us not to be afraid of pain, but to see it as a chance to learn and grow. They urge us to view pain as a tool to build our inner strength and resilience, rather than seeing it as something bad in and of itself. People will always have to go through pain. Everybody goes through times of pain, trouble, and loss at some point in their lives. Stoics say that we shouldn't run away from these things. Instead, they say, we should accept them and find value in them. Instead of something to avoid at all costs, they see pain as a chance to grow and develop as a person. I think that one way to find purpose in pain is to think about it and learn from it. People who are going through tough times can ask themselves what they can learn and how they can grow from it. We can turn even the hardest things that happen to us into chances to develop strength and maturity if we see pain as a chance for personal growth. Also, going through pain can be a great way to learn to care about other people. When we go through pain and trouble in our own lives, we can better understand and care about other people's suffering. In this way, we can connect with the people around us more deeply and help them when they need it most. Suffering can also drive people to be strong and determined. When we face problems and difficulties, we can use pain and suffering as fuel to keep going and work harder to reach our goals. We don't have to let pain stop us from moving forward. Instead, we can use it to push ourselves to new heights and make our biggest dreams come true. It is important to remember that we should not actively seek out pain, but that it is something we will have to deal with in our lives. We can turn our worst events into times of deep meaning and satisfaction, though, if we change how we think about pain and see it as a chance to grow and learn. Pain can be a strong force for good in our lives if we choose to accept it and learn from it, instead of running away from it out of fear. 12. Always look at things in a broad sense. Keeping a broad view is one of the most important lessons in Stoicism. It helps us deal with the problems we face in life with peace and clarity of mind. Stoics tell us to remember how small our problems are in the grand scheme of things. This helps us see our problems in a wider light and take comfort in the knowledge that they are only temporary and can be dealt with. It's simple to think that our problems are too big to handle and to become so focused on them that we lose sight of the fact that they are only a small part of the bigger picture. Stoics, on the other hand, tell us that our lives are but a drop in the ocean of time and space, and that our troubles are nothing compared to the size of the world. By looking at things in a bigger picture, we can free ourselves from the weight of our troubles and find comfort in the fact that they are a small part of our lives. To face our problems with a clear and calm mind, knowing that even though they are hard right now, they will go away in the end. We can also learn to be thankful for the many good things in our lives by keeping a broad view of things. Despite our difficulties, we are aware that we have a lot to be thankful for, including the beauty of the world around us, the deep relationships we have built, and the life-changing experiences we have had. This attitude of gratitude strengthens our resiliency and our capacity to overcome the challenges we face along the way, by enabling us to keep a positive and upbeat attitude even in the face of hardship. It makes us appreciate the little things in life and tells us that there is always light at the end of the tunnel, even when things look the worst. By keeping a broad view of things, we can live with more knowledge and peace, and we can handle the ups and downs of life with calm and drive. It helps to know that our problems are temporary, and that knowing that everything will be okay in the end brings us comfort. We can find peace and calm inside, even when the world around us is crazy, if we look at things in this bigger picture. 13. Accept problems as they come up. Stoicism tells us to face problems with courage and determination instead of running away from them. One of the most important parts of this theory is accepting problems as they are. The Stoics tell us that hardship is a necessary part of life, and that, rather than being afraid of it, we should see it as a chance to develop and gain strength. When we face problems, it's normal to want to avoid them or give up when they catch us. Stoics, on the other hand, tell us that real strength comes from meeting problems with courage and determination. We show our inner strength and give ourselves the chance to improve as people by facing hardship. Problems push us out of our comfort zones and make us face our limits. It pushes us to get past problems that seem impossible to solve and find creative ways to get around them. Even though it may be hard at the time, problems give us a chance to show that we can face and solve them. Also, when we accept problems as they come up, we develop a growth attitude that lets us see them as chances to learn and get better. We don't see problems as unsolvable. Rather, we see them as a chance to develop and gain strength. We can learn new skills, become more resilient, and improve our resolve with each challenge. It's important to remember that problems are a normal part of life and should not be avoided at all costs. At some point or another, we will all encounter tough and trying times. How we respond to these obstacles depends on our attitude. If we face problems head-on with courage and determination, we can turn even the worst conditions into chances to learn and get better. We can gain more inner strength and resiliency by facing difficulties head-on. We learn to deal with life's problems with courage and drive instead of letting them weaken us. By having this attitude about problems, we can handle any problem that comes our way and come out of it better and smarter. One of the best-known Stoic thinkers in history is Marcus Aurelius. From 161 to 180 AD, he was Emperor of Rome. He was the last of a line of kings that became known as the Five Good Emperors. At the time, Marcus Aurelius was one of the most powerful people in the world. He dedicated his life to fairness and justice, which was a very honorable thing to do since he could give in to all of his urges and wants whenever he wanted. Aurelius wrote a collection of personal works called the Meditations while he was king. These writings have become one of the most important in Stoic thought. In the exercises, Aurelius gives advice on how to get better, with a main focus on seeing things from a cosmic point of view and thinking carefully about how you judge others and yourself. While Aurelius was emperor, his empire was very strong and fought many wars. To stay calm and be the best leader he could be, he followed the Stoic theory mentioned above. Stoicism is an old and very important system of thought that includes both a theory and a highly inspiring way of living and thinking. The Stoics were sure that doing the right thing was the best way to be happy, and that doing the right thing needed good judgment and smart thought. We will teach you 5 important lessons based on the teachings in this movie that will help you develop a reasonable mind. Rule number 1, live by the virtues. Like Marcus Aurelius said, look inside yourself because a source of goodness is waiting to come out if you keep looking. A virtue is a good quality of character, or to put it more simply, doing the right thing. This behavior is good for you, the people around you, and society as a whole. Stoicism is based on the idea that everything and everyone is linked and has a purpose. So, things that work for the general good will finally work out well for you too. So, the Stoics were sure that people who were in line with reason were also committed to the greater good. To put it another way, they lived by the virtues. On the other hand, stupidity is blamed for the lack of good behavior. The Stoics said that when life throws you curveballs, your virtues can help you stay focused and headed in the right way. Because of this, people who are full of virtue tend to be cool and collected. To add virtues to your life, you must first understand and practice the 4 primary virtues of Stoicism: knowledge, justice, temperance, and courage. Stoics thought that being wise meant being able to tell the difference between good and bad, neutral and good, and everything in between. It means putting your feelings aside and letting your mind tell you what is socially right when you are in a tough spot. Being wise gives you the ability to think clearly about both choices. In the next place is justice, which comes from being wise and means doing what is fair and right for everyone. It was a duty for the Stoics, to others, and to society as a whole. The third virtue is courage, which lets you act even when you are scared. It makes you want to do something for the greater good, or take on tasks even though you don't know how they will turn out. Having courage doesn't mean getting rid of fear, desire, or anxiety. It means making the choice to move forward despite mental obstacles. Lastly, patience, which is also called moderation, means finding a middle ground between two extremes. It's about being disciplined, having self-control, and not giving in. Marcus Aurelius talked about how humans can control themselves, which is what makes us different from animals. Temperance puts long-term happiness ahead of short-term pleasure. A bag of potato chips is a common example. It might feel good to eat the whole bag at once, but it's bad for your health and your happiness. To be temperate in this case, you should stop after a few bites. To figure out the right amount of breaks to use, you need to be very smart. According to Stoicism, things and acts can be put into three groups: good, bad, and indifferent. Fundamental principles include seeking good, avoiding evil, and being able to accept disinterest based on personal choice. If you break these virtues, you would encourage bad behavior, steal, be rude, make bad decisions, or stop doing good things. Things that are thought to be neutral, like going for a walk, don't follow these rules. These virtues do more than make you a better person. They help people feel calm and peaceful. If you act in line with these virtues, you will always be on the right road, led by reason, and this will help you keep your mind calm. Second lesson, see things from a bigger picture. In our last quote, Marcus Aurelius beautifully echoes Plato's wise words. When you want to talk about people, it is better to adopt a panoramic view and see everything at once. Taking a panoramic view is an important way to keep your mind clear in the busyness of life. We often feel like we have the weight of the world on our shoulders because we are in the middle of all the problems and challenges. If you're in a small group, it might feel like the whole city is suffocating from the crowd. Just a few simple steps can change your point of view and show you a whole new world. When we step back and look at the bigger picture of our lives and the world we live in, we understand how small our individual experiences are and how insignificant we are in the grand scheme of things. This change in point of view shows us the vast world beyond what we can see right now. People often forget that their own experiences and points of view are not the only ones that matter, even in their own lives. Think about someone who has had a bad experience with dogs. It might be hard for them to imagine that dogs could be loved pets by other people. If they don't consciously recognize that different situations are possible sometimes, I need to stop and think about what I am missing or not fully getting. Self-evaluation is a good habit that has many benefits. Think about this. You need to decide whether to stay at your current job or take a job that has opened up somewhere else. It can be hard to make this choice if you're not sure which one will help you reach your goals. Although your current job is stable and you don't want the extra duties that come with a raise, the promise of a higher salary is hard to resist. It's easy to feel stuck in this situation, but there are a lot of untapped possibilities just below the surface. Have you thought about going into a completely different field or looking into a side project that you can do while you're at work? You could get really into a hobby to take your mind off of things you don't like doing. It's extremely likely that you're missing out on a lot of great chances in life. Taking a broad view instead of just focused on the present issues greatly assists in making well-informed choices. Not only does broadening your focus help you set goals, but it also helps you form views and make a final decision. It is very important to think about all the options and parts of a situation. Another thing that means stepping back is briefly putting aside personal opinions and biases. Giving up your wants for a short time can give you a new viewpoint and make you think about the people around you and what you owe them. In the heat of the moment, you might think that something like throwing trash on the ground is not important. That being said, when you step back and think about the world and what might happen if everyone acts the same way, it becomes clear that your desire to waste is not important. Compared to the planet's well-being, which was already talked about, the Stoics strongly felt that everything in the world was linked, and that making the world a better place naturally makes people happier. In times of trouble, struggle, or big change, it's very important to take a step back and look at things from a world viewpoint instead of just focusing on your own life. Being able to ask yourself deep questions, whether you're feeling tense or not, for example during a walk in the park or while writing, which was something Marcus Aurelius really pushed people to do. These questions give you a chance to look more deeply into your deeds and thoughts. When you're excited, you might not think that littering is a big deal, but when you take a step back and think about the whole world, including the possibility that other people will litter too, you realize how small your urge to do so is compared to the overall well-being. As we already said, the Stoics believed that everything in the world is connected and that making the world a better place also makes you happier. So, taking a step back and thinking about the world as a whole, not just your own life, becomes very important. If you look at things from a world point of view, you'll always have a big picture view that will free you from needless limits, biases, or questions. Please don't forget to follow us on our other social media sites like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our TikTok account. The third lesson is to use the two types of control. Recognize this, and you will find strength, in the words of Marcus Aurelius. Your power lies in your mind, not in external events. The difference between what we can control and what we can't is called duality of control. Things like bad weather, traffic, and what other people think of you are outside of your control. What you wear when you go out and the people you hang out with are things you can control. Ask yourself what you can control every time something makes you feel a certain way. What we can control is a reason to act, and what we can't control is something we need to learn to accept and welcome without letting it change who we are. Love of fate, or amor fati, is a very important part of the duality of control. When you accept everything that life throws at you, you will always love life. The things that happen in your life are out of your control, but you can choose to love them no matter what. You might think there is no way to make things right if you find out you didn't get the job you've wanted for years. You tried hard to get the job but failed. In this situation, you couldn't act like you love fate. But this is not what it seems to be. Instead of seeing the fact that you didn't reach your goal as a bad event, look into what went wrong and use that information to make a good choice. You can work on those mistakes and try again when a similar chance comes up in the future if you didn't get the job because of a failure on your part, in which case it is something you can control. Or the reason came from outside the company, like favoritism or a personality clash with a higher manager. That means you never had any control over this, so the chance never really existed. There's no point in being upset about something that never happened. Part of accepting fate is getting away from a set result and outside signs of success. If, for instance, you want to be a writer and your success is determined by the number of sales of your book, you will let the random book market of the moment control your success. However, you have complete control over your success if you decide to gauge it by how happy you are with the end result or by how much effort you put into it. Without a question, work as hard as you can to reach your goals. But be honest with yourself and admit that you might not be able to do it. Our inner peace of mind stays with us no matter what happens when we focus on what we can control and make a promise to accept what we can't change as it comes up. Fourth lesson, work on how you see things. Marcus Aurelius said, "Choose not to feel hurt, and you will not be hurt." One of the most important lessons of Stoicism is to control how we see things. Every time we see something, hear something, or meet someone, we automatically judge it. Everyone and everything is judged on how good, bad, boring, funny, beautiful, ugly, etc. it is. Even though we are not aware of it, this mindless behavior is draining and can make our lives worse. Putting a negative spin on every contact on a particularly bad day, for example, makes the day seem even worse. Calling a party dull becomes the story for the whole week. Our feelings often affect the decisions we make, which means that our decisions are not always based on logic. We also tend to judge everything all the time and use too many metaphors and hyperboles, which make things sound worse than they really are. Instead of understanding that your ex broke your heart, you might say that they did it to you if they break up with you. This way of changing how we feel. What makes us feel bad is not what happened, but how we choose to think about it. Stoics, on the other hand, frequently advise care by considering everything you do and everyone you meet. For example, one way to be careful is to question your opinions, which means looking past them. It means being able to put aside your first thoughts about something and look at it with a more positive and reasonable view. Instead of being bored, you could use that time at the party to check out a new area and meet new people. You didn't really expect the bad, so even if you find out later that you didn't connect with anyone, that's okay. To train your view of life, the best thing you can do is train yourself not to rate everything based on your first thoughts and feelings. Before you decide what you think about something, ask yourself, does it make sense? What makes me think the way I do? Is there a more upbeat or better way to understand this? It was important to Marcus Aurelius that harms only exist if you see them as such. This means that any hard thing you've been through seems even harder and worse the more you think about it that way. You have full control over how things affect you. Stoics also give you the courage to see anything bad as a chance for good. One way to practice having a Stoic attitude is to take on a task called turning the obstacle around. For instance, you might feel frustrated when a new coworker takes a long time to learn and their mistakes hurt the company's bottom line. This coworker gets in the way of what you want to achieve, which is effectiveness, speed, and earnings. But this situation can also be a chance to do good. It gives you a chance to work on your patience, become a better teacher, learn how to work with new people, and deal with frustrating situations. All of these skills will be useful in the long run and should also help you make more money in the long run. Marcus Aurelius reportedly said, "That which stops action becomes action itself. That which stands in our way becomes the way itself." In other words, don't judge everything too harshly. Instead, look at things as they really are. You may find that life is easier and better than you thought. There are both good and bad ways to look at every situation. You will find that past irritations don't bother you as much, and that life goes much more smoothly if you change your mindset. You need to learn how to control your feelings. Marcus Aurelius warns us not to let our feelings rule our minds. We need to stop being dishonest, spoiled, and angry. Emotional impulsivity is often very different from logical impulsivity, and there is a good reason for this. Nothing gets in the way of our feelings. So, if you want to always have a clear mind, one of the most important skills you need to learn is how to control your feelings. Marcus Aurelius said that many emotions are bad for us, and anger is one of them. A lot of people think that controlling your feelings means putting them down, but it doesn't. When you're deeply angry about something like being betrayed, you can't control it by telling yourself or others that it doesn't exist, or by acting like everything is normal. No matter how hard you try to push it away, it will stay there. The Stoics said that managing feelings like anger is better done by changing the focus. So, the next time you feel angry, ask yourself, what can I do with that anger? You might want to yell at the person who hurt you, but will that make things better or less painful? Will it make the person who lied to you better? To sum up, think about what you want to do, and then ask yourself if it will help. If it isn't, find healthy ways to talk about how you feel. You might have better luck if you talk to the person who hurt you gently, tell them how you feel, and try to see things from their point of view. Any other activity that might help you get rid of your anger is welcome. Writing in a book, working out, getting lost in a video game, etc. Fear or anxiety are two more examples. You can't just push these thoughts away. You can send them in a different way, though. You don't have to let your anxiety stop you from doing anything. Instead, you can use it as a personal challenge to do something that makes you feel nervous and be aware of it the whole time. Think about being too scared to ask your boss for a raise. Many people use their fear as an excuse not to do what they need to do, and they let their anxiety take over. Others might decide to ignore their anxiety because they see it as a problem that needs to be fixed. But neither of these points of view has to be the only one. What you should do instead is talk about your fear in a healthy way. It might even help. Think about all the things that could go wrong because of your fear. For example, think about all the questions your boss might ask and the reasons they might give you. You can then get ready for them and make a plan for every possible outcome. However, the most important thing about fear is that it pushes you to move forward, to test yourself and grow as a person, to show yourself that you can do it, not despite your fear, but because of it. So, you can be aware of your anxiety during the process and tell yourself how great it is that you are trying. Anyway, if you know how to control your strong emotions, you will always be calm, even when things are bad, and your feelings will never get in the way of your ability to think clearly and make good choices. Keeping your feelings in check is important for keeping your peace of mind. Every day, problems come up because of stress at work, problems in relationships, and social demands. These problems make waves of feelings and energy that are hard to control. Have you ever thought about the people around you? Do the forces they bring motivate you to get better, or do they just drain and wear you out? Let's look at 10 rules that will help you control your feelings, set limits, and find friends who really get you. You will find a way to wisdom that makes you better, helps you grow as a whole person, and helps you find greater meaning in life's difficulties. The first one is selective compassion. Being compassionate makes our hearts feel nice and happy, showing that we really care about each other. But be smart about how you use this warmth so it doesn't go away at night. Being selectively compassionate is like turning on a lamp instead of turning on the whole house's lights. You put your attention on where it's most needed and where you can really help. Picture the world as having too many problems and hurts for any one person to solve on their own. As you reach out to those who are lost, it's like being in a small boat on a rough sea. When we try to save everyone at once, we might sink ourselves. Selective kindness helps us help others without putting ourselves in danger. It keeps the boat steady while we help others. It's okay to say that we can't be everywhere at once when someone cares about us in this way. We shouldn't ignore the bad things going on in the world, but we should be smart about which fights we take. When a friend needs us, we can be there because it means a lot to them. But when it comes to bigger problems, we can't solve directly. We do what we can, like maybe giving a hand from afar, so we don't get too stressed out trying to solve everything. Keeping this balance also means taking care of ourselves. People can't get what they need from us. There will be no more energy for us to give if we try to fix everything and everyone. It's like we forget to light our own path while lighting a light for everyone else. If you see someone who needs help and are able to do so, please do so. Your kindness and deeds can make a big difference. Should something out of your control happen, do what you can and don't feel bad about not doing more. It's sometimes best to help other people by first taking care of ourselves. For that reason, we'll be ready to help when someone needs it. Being smart means being picky about who we care for and love. We need to choose places where we can really help and make sure we're healthy and strong enough to keep doing that in the future. Also, it's important to remember that when we take care of our own health, We make sure that we can continue to help others. Our light stays bright for those who need it. Second, letting go of relationships that are bad for you. Have you ever thought about how much the people in our lives affect what we do and how we feel? We often feel like everyone is always judging and demanding things from us, and that everything we do is being closely watched. But there is a secret knowledge that can change our lives. We can pick and choose who is close to us. Some people are like calm water that moves us forward slowly but surely and helps us grow. However, there are also people who are like rough weather, causing chaos and making us feel lost. The old Stoics, who were known for being wise in dealing with life's problems, thought deeply about this idea. Marcus Aurelius said it well: "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." This shows how important it is to control yourself and be at peace inside, even when things are crazy outside. When we think about it, does our friendship help us grow as people or hold us back? It is not a sign of weakness to leave a toxic relationship. Rather, it is a sign of strength. It is a choice to be around people who truly make our lives better and more fulfilling. Like when you fix up a house, sometimes we have to tear down old, broken-down buildings to make room for something better. Even though it takes honesty and courage to get rid of things that don't serve us anymore, think how good it would feel to walk through rooms that are only positive and supportive, away from rooms that are negative and critical. It might be time to look inside yourself and ask yourself if the words around you are lifting you up or bringing you down. Getting rid of toxic bonds isn't just a way to protect yourself. It's also a sign of your inner strength and a step toward a happier, more fulfilling life. Always keep in mind that the people we let into our close group have a huge impact on our lives. Let's be smarter about the choices we make. Now is a good time to take a look at our surroundings, think carefully, and make the changes that are needed. In the end, the people we spend time with make our lives complete. The question is, are you ready to make this choice? Third, setting limits for yourself. Time is a valuable resource that gets more valuable over time, and our energy is a limited resource. Setting limits isn't just a way to stay alive, it's also a basic rule for living a real and worthwhile life. But what does it really mean to set personal limits? More importantly, how does it help us deal with the complicated things that happen in today's world? Boundaries are like the lines on a map. They show you the area that is only yours, your time, your energy, your thoughts. The invisible lines that show how far we're ready to go, what we're okay with, and when we need to set limits are these borders. In essence, they show respect for ourselves and an understanding of our own worth. We are more likely to get burned out when we don't have clear limits. This is a big problem in a culture that values constant action. When we can't tell the difference between what other people want and what we need, we give up control over our lives and a big part of who we are. Setting limits is like crossing a line. You have to balance being kind and protecting yourself at the same time. It means realizing that we need to take care of our own health and happiness before we can truly care for others. Epictetus famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It means being able to say no when you need to, not because you're selfish, but because you know that taking care of your own mental and emotional health makes everything else better. Being self-aware is the first step in setting limits. Knowing your true values and what drains and restores your energy are important. A lifelong process of becoming aware of your own wants and learning how to articulate them with confidence. Try to picture the freeing feeling that comes with setting boundaries, being able to choose how, with whom, and in what activities you spend your time and energy. Imagine the tranquility of living according to your core beliefs. Now is the time to think about what limits you need to set to protect your time, energy, and mental health. Keep in mind that setting limits isn't about putting up walls to keep people out. Instead, it's about making relationships with others that are stronger and more real. So why not start drawing these lines now? In the end, what matters most in life is not how many things you get done, but how good the times you choose to enjoy are. Are you prepared to take control of your future and establish the limits that will guide it? 4. Sharing your feelings and thoughts in a smart way. Everyone's words have the power to build or break down, to bring people together or tear them apart. Knowing how to say what you feel and think with wisdom becomes a guidelight. Think of the words we use as seeds that are planted in a yard. Depending on how they are cared for, they can grow or die. Being a good farmer means taking care of your plants with care and wisdom. The same goes for how we treat our words. Stoic philosophy offers advice on how to improve our interactions in all the different ways people connect with one another, much like a gardener's guide. Stoic philosophy reminds us that true freedom comes from having control over our thoughts and actions, not just from being controlled. Think about being able to choose, fully aware, how to react to any situation instead of letting strong emotions or automatic responses guide you. You have control over your own life and can choose how to respond. Even when things get tough, you can move yourself toward peace and understanding. Epictetus said, "We cannot control the external events around us, but we can control our reactions to them." This captures the fundamental tenet of Stoic philosophy, the freedom to answer with reason and awareness. But why is it important to keep our feelings and views in check when we talk about them? Now that we live in an instant connected world, every thought can be sent around the world in seconds. Still, the speed with which we talk to each other shouldn't overshadow the depth and quality of our exchanges. By being careful with the words we use, we avoid confusion and pointless arguments. The most important thing is that we build and keep good connections. We can also be great examples of empathy and understanding in our communities by working on being calm inside and trying to understand before trying to be understood. It takes courage and kindness to really listen to other people, even if their ideas are different from our own. This gives our relationships more strength. Let's use a common example to show this. You strongly disagree with a friend's view on a certain matter. The Stoic philosophy encourages us to disagree, but it also encourages us to do so politely, looking for areas of common ground and mutual understanding rather than getting into an ego-driven fight. The conversation is turned into a way for each person to grow and for everyone to become more aware. Ultimately, when we follow this way of life, we understand that real connection is more than just words. It depends on being honest, open, and strong enough to show who we really are, including our fears and hopes. And by doing this, we not only find our own voice, but we also give other people the courage to find theirs. So let us choose our words with the same care that a farmer gives their plants. May we be patient, kind, and deliberate in how we talk to each other. Let the words we use spread light, not darkness. And as we walk this road, may we not only find the art of speech, but also the deep art of life. If you've been on this journey with us so far, please don't be shy about leaving a note. Your thoughts can help change even more lives. Let's keep going forward. Keeping yourself safe in love is the fifth thing. There's more to love than just the feeling itself. To really understand what love is all about, we have to be stoic. The Stoics had some interesting things to say about this. They said that we can love deeply and still accept the rights of others without suffocating or holding them back. In this way of thinking about love, it's like letting a bird fly free. Holding on too tight stops it from expressing itself naturally and growing. But when you care for it gently and let it roam freely, it's happy for both of you. Stoic philosophy advocated freeing true love. It gives people the freedom to be themselves without any limits. Freedom to love doesn't make it less deep, it makes it deeper. It's a more mature way to love, to choose to be together because you want to be together instead of because you have to. Realizing that each of us is whole on our own, but we choose to share that wholeness with someone else without depending on them. This kind of love recognizes that things will change and become less important over time. We don't lament this fact. Instead, we learn to value every moment because we know that every shared experience is a valuable gift. Accept the things that fate binds you and love the people that fate brings you together, but do it with all your heart, Marcus Aurelius once said. Even if things change in the future, love leaves a good mark, a light that never goes out. Imagine how beautiful it would be to love with all our hearts without giving up who we are. To love deeply while keeping inner strength and tranquility is the lesson the Stoics sought to teach us. Therefore, let's choose to be with someone not to fill a void, but to make each other's lives better by adding to them. That's the call for today. To love in a way that frees us, brings us joy, and sparks our life and happiness. Sixth, being self-aware and confident. Stoicism tells us to be honest with ourselves and put our health first. A simple but revolutionary idea. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary to become the best person you can be. Why is it important to look after ourselves? We can help other people more when we're healthy, strong, and balanced. Let us break it down. Picture yourself as a glass of water. How can you give someone water if your glass is empty? You need to first fill up your own glass. That's taking care of yourself. Take care of yourself by making sure you're ready for life's ups and downs and to help those around you. You shouldn't always put others before yourself, but you also shouldn't always put yourself last. A big part of this way of life is also being real and honest with other people. At first, being honest and real might be scary because you don't know how other people will respond. But the truth is that telling the truth makes relationships better and more important. There is nothing stronger than a relationship based on trust and respect. That's what makes a relationship strong and healthy. So putting these ideas into action starts with choices we make every day. That you kindly say no to things that don't fit with your ideals or when you're just too tired. You don't need to feel bad about taking breaks. It's also important to be honest with other people, even if it's hard. You're not only looking out for yourself when you make these habits, but you're also encouraging other people to do the same, like a chain effect of good things happening for everyone. Keep in mind that looking after your health and well-being is not being selfish. It is necessary. No. 7. Dealing with problems and building up resolve. There is a deep idea that pushes us to see life through a new lens, facing hard times and finding our inner strength. We know that life doesn't always go as planned. It throws us curveballs and challenges that we have to face. Despite this, it's in times of trouble that we learn the most important lessons and find ways to grow as people. Consider this. Every task we face is a unique opportunity to test our inner strength and flexibility, as the Stoic philosopher Seneca so beautifully put it. Fire is the test of gold, adversity of strong men. People have two choices when they face a problem. They can back down and admit failure, or they can face the problem head-on and use it to grow as people. Stoic thought, which is full of old knowledge, encourages taking the second road. Think about this. Every problem we face is a question that life asks us, making us think about what we can learn from it. When we look at our problems from this angle, we can turn them into opportunities. Every problem turns into a lesson, and every obstacle into a chance to show how strong we are. What then do we do to make this happen? The first step is to accept it. Realizing that problems will come up in life is the first thing that will help us solve them. Not that we have to like or want these things to happen, But we do have to accept that they are a part of our journey. In the next step, we look for the lessons. Every problem we face can teach us something useful, whether it's about ourselves or about the world around us. In addition, accepting problems helps us become more emotionally strong. Dealing with problems head-on helps us learn how to control our feelings so that we don't let fear or anger take over. This mental strength is a powerful tool that can help us not only get past problems we're facing now, but also prepare us for problems we don't even know about yet in the future. Putting it simply, accepting problems and finding strength in them is a strong way to go through life. It changes fear into courage, doubt into hope, and suffering into strength. It tells us to look inside ourselves, recognize how strong we are, and move forward with confidence, knowing that we can handle any problems that come our way. Eighth, forming a mindset of gratitude. Have you ever thought about why we feel the most peaceful inside when our daily lives slow down and the noise and chaos die down? We feel a soft, gentle wave of thanks wash over us. It comes over us without much noise. There is nothing new or strange about it. It's just a simple but beautiful truth. The Stoic philosophers, who stressed moral goodness and self-awareness, are the originators of this knowledge. They showed how important it is to be grateful for the good things in our lives. In his writings, Marcus Aurelius said, "When you wake up in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." Being grateful is more than just saying thank you. It means recognizing the worth of life's little pleasures, the people we meet, and the lessons that are woven into every experience, no matter how hard it is. Imagine that every hard time is like a secret teacher teaching us important lessons for our growth. What's so powerful about this idea? Our view of the world changes because of it. All of a sudden, problems turn into steps and difficulties into chances. Being grateful takes our attention off of always wanting more, from looking for new things and big things, and puts it on enjoying the current moment, finding happiness in the things that are already there. In the middle of all the chaos, incorporating this practice into our daily lives may seem hard, but it's actually very easy. Start with easy things. Every day, take a moment to stop and look around. Pay attention to the little things, like how warm your coffee is in the morning, how a friend smiles, or how beautiful the sunset is at the end of a long day. Many times we don't spot these little gems. This kind of viewpoint shift not only makes our own experiences better, but it also makes our relationships with other people stronger. When you're grateful, you bring people together. When we publicly thank someone, we're not just saying thank you. We're also confirming how important they are in our lives, which creates a cycle of appreciation and warmth. And thanks is a strong foundation for building mental and spiritual strength, giving you strength and security when things get tough. Gratitude teaches us how to be flexible and encourages us to go with the flow of life as it changes. It shows us where we fit in the big picture of life, showing how connected we are to each other, the world, and the universe. This deep link gives us strength, makes us more human, and brings us closer to being whole. Therefore, I issue a call to you to begin this life-changing journey, where every day brings a chance to nurture and grow our thanks. Think of being grateful not as something you have to do, but as a nice treat you give yourself every morning when you wake up. Think about something you're grateful for a moment. It could be the smallest pleasure or a brief feeling of happiness. Don't try to hide it. Through time, you'll see how this small action can change your life. With each passing day, it will bring about more light, tranquility, and a deep sense of being truly living. 9. Living in the present moment fully. Taking passionate hold of the present moment leads us to what really matters in life and a deep change. We learn to stay in the present because life happens in the present, according to Stoic knowledge. Every breath you take is a fresh start, and every moment is a chance to live fully. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Never let the future bother you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason that you use today against the present." Our minds often wander, thinking about the past or worried about the future, and we miss the beauty of the moment. Focusing on the present, on the other hand, frees us from those chains. We can then put our energy into things we can control and enjoy every moment. Imagine how powerful it would be to fully experience every feeling and be fully involved in every job, no matter how simple it seems. The general quality of our lives is improved, and our ability to focus and work efficiently is sharpened. This lets us enjoy the good times and face problems with a fresh outlook. So how do we get better at living in the present moment? To start, we just need to be aware of when our minds move off from the present time. When we notice that we are moving, we gently bring our attention back to the here and now without criticizing ourselves. We can strengthen this habit of getting back to the present by focusing on our breath, our feelings, or the activity we're doing. We can do this through meditation, awareness exercises, or even by giving our full attention to things that need it. We become more thankful for life as we keep working on this skill. Suddenly, even the smallest things take on a deeper meaning, our relationships with others grow stronger, and problems seem less scary when we have the clarity and peace that only living in the present moment can give us. To truly care for yourself and honor life itself, you must live fully in the present moment. When we fully enjoy every moment, we not only make our own lives better, but we also make the lives of those around us happier. There is a reason to be happy in every moment, because it shows how amazing it is to be living right now. Let's all promise to fully experience the present moment, appreciating how rare and one-of-a-kind it is. We hope to find happiness in the little things, strength in being here, and depth in the daily. We hope that this will help us find the real happiness that comes from fully taking part in the beautiful mosaic of life. 10th, being able to take care of yourself and be independent. Have you heard of the idea of being your own happiness guru? That's kind of what the Stoics were trying to say when they talked about being self-sufficient. Don't get it wrong, though. You shouldn't put up walls around yourself or act like you're on your own. Instead of constantly seeking praise or assistance from others, it's more about looking deep inside yourself to find that perfect balance of tranquility and happiness. It's about being a good, brave, and balanced person and making the most of what you have. Think of these traits as valuable gems that are hidden inside us and can't be changed or touched by anyone else. When we fully accept them, outside forces like other people's ideas or hard situations gain no power over us. But how do we get to this level of inner strength? There's no magic recipe. We go on this path one step at a time, trying to get better every day, facing problems head-on, and learning from our mistakes without letting them define who we are. As you go along this road, you'll realize that real happiness doesn't depend on things outside of you. Do not worry, you will still enjoy the company of others and the pleasures of life. In fact, you will value them even more, but not because you need them to feel complete. Adopting self-sufficiency is a journey of self-discovery that makes you feel free and independent. Dealing with disrespect is a problem that everyone has to deal with. It can be very annoying and stressful in everyday life. But have you ever thought about whether or not old philosophical ideas like Stoicism could teach us something useful? This old way of thinking shows us how to handle tough situations with kindness and knowledge. Now we'll look at 10 useful Stoic ideas that can help us deal with disrespect better. Principle 1. Build up your inner strength. Dealing with disrespect starts with you. The first Stoic principle tells us to build up inner strength so that we can stay calm when bad things happen. The Stoic philosophy tells us not to let other people's disrespect upset our inner peace. We can develop inner strength that shields us from the harmful effects of disrespect by realizing that we cannot control other people's actions, but can control our responses to them. Come with me as we look into this theory and learn how to increase our strength in the face of adversity. Let's keep going on our path to a calmer life. Some people's actions and behaviors are out of our control, but we can choose how to react to disrespect. Being inner resilient means realizing that we are in charge of our own peace of mind. Stoicism tells us to accept that other people's rude actions are just a part of their own world and don't always show how valuable we are. By seeing things this way, we can free ourselves from the emotional weight of being disrespected, which builds an inner wall that keeps bad things from happening. To explore and understand this concept, we need to become very self-aware, look at our unconscious responses, and learn to answer thoughtfully instead of reactively. By doing this, we start to build an inner strength that helps us not only deal with problems quietly, but also see them as chances to grow as people. Being resilient means not only getting through hard times, but also learning and growing from them. At the heart of this theory is the idea that our mental health shouldn't rest on things like other people's attitudes alone. Learning that we can't control what other people do, but we can control how we feel and what we do, can help us break free from the bad effects of disrespect. Conscious self-observation, or looking at our own responses and finding thought patterns that might be making us feel bad, helps us build inner strength. This process isn't meant to get rid of our feelings. Instead, it's meant to help us accept them and then decide how to act in a healthy way. These traits help us become resilient, which means we can find meaning in even the worst conditions. We learn to view disrespect as a chance to strengthen ourselves and improve our understanding of ourselves, rather than getting caught up in anger or rage. Juan was a young worker who loved his job at a fast-paced company. Let's hear his story. Even though he tried to make a positive contribution, some of his co-workers had a rude attitude toward him. Juan changed his ways one day and chose to follow the first Stoic principle: build up your inner strength. He chose not to let the disrespect bother him, but to think about it for a moment. While he could not control the acts of others, he could control how he reacted, he told himself. John practiced mindful self-observation with each rude word. It was okay for him to be angry, but he didn't let that anger take over his day. He understood that he could choose not to let those circumstances affect his peace of mind, as he started to see trends in his own responses. Amazing things started to happen as John worked on building up his inner fortitude. He not only kept his peace of mind in the face of disrespect, but he also found new ways to deal with problems. In these times, he started to see them as chances to be patient and kind, both to himself and to other people. Juan learned to deal with disrespect in a cool way over time, and he also set a good example for his co-workers. His stoic demeanor not only made him feel better emotionally, but it also made the workplace a better place. Picture yourself stuck in traffic when all of a sudden someone stops you. Instead of getting angry, you remember the Stoic principle. You must accept that you cannot control how other people act, but you can control how you respond. By exercising patience and avoiding letting other drivers' disrespect ruin your day, you decide to let the situation pass without letting it affect your mood. For instance, someone might say something hurtful at a family meal. Instead of getting angry, you use your inner strength to deal with things. You know that you can't change what other people think, but you can change how you deal with things. You choose to react in a cool and understanding way, which keeps disrespect from ruining the moment and makes room for helpful conversation. You know that you can't change other people's attitudes, but you can change how they make you feel. Principle 2. Get better at telling the difference between things you can control and things you can't. The second Stoic principle tells us to practice telling what we have control over and what we don't. This difference is especially important when there is disrespect. Based on Stoicism, we should put our energy into things we can control instead of worrying about things we can't change. We can stop the stress and anxiety that come from trying to change things that can't be changed by looking into and knowing this concept. We can focus on doing things that will make our situation better by having an attitude of acceptance toward the things we cannot change. Come with me as we talk about how to use this idea in our daily lives to feel more balanced and at peace. Being disrespected makes it easy to start thinking about what other people are doing. However, Stoicism tells us that worrying about what other people do is a waste of time and energy. Our deeds and views should be the goal, not what other people should or shouldn't do. Being able to tell the difference between things we can control and things we can't helps us relax when we're trying to change other people. Giving up the idea that we can control what other people do frees us from the need to seek their approval or support. The things we can control, like how we act and how we react to disrespect, are what we focus on instead. With this attitude, we can save our energy and use it to do things that will make things better. For instance, let's say you are working on a group project and one of your co-workers is always putting down your ideas. You decide not to worry about his behavior by using the concept of telling the difference between things you can control and things you can't. You understand that you have no control over your co-worker's behavior, but you do have control over how you react. You decide to stay cool and answer with kindness, keeping your mind on working toward your goals in a helpful way. By doing this, you save your energy for more useful tasks and avoid the stress of trying to change your co-worker. Or, let's say you're at a family meeting and someone says mean things about the choices you've made in your life. Instead of letting what they say affect you, you work on telling the difference between things you can control and things you can't. You know that you can't change your relative's mind, but you can change how you react to their comments. It's up to you not to take what they say personally, and instead to react with kindness and calm. By doing this, you can keep your peace of mind and escape the worry of trying to change your relative's attitude. By telling the difference between things we can control and things we can't, we can save our energy and use it to do things that will make our position better. We find more peace and balance in our lives when we stop trying to change other people, which makes us stressed. Come along with me as we talk about how to use this idea in our daily lives to feel more in control and calm. We know that people should treat us with respect and honor, and we won't put up with rude behavior. Seneca said, "He is braver who sticks to his principles, even though he is despised, than he who gets even for being despised." When it comes to dealing with disrespect, being real is a powerful way to change yourself. We are encouraged by this concept to be like the sun, which shines its own light even when other people don't care. Think about being in a place where people misunderstand what you say or do and treat you badly with disrespect. This is where being stoic and real comes in. As Seneca said, "There is no one more despicable than those who try to appear to be what they are not." To be authentic, you have to resist the urge to change who you are to please other people. This principle encourages us to accept our differences and live by our core values, even when things get hard. Being genuine helps us stand up to social pressure and disrespect, which lets us stay true to who we are. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Look deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better." When we do this, we find the inner strength to stand up to disrespect, because we know that by being true to ourselves, we are in tune with the very core of life. We can also use this concept to help us set good limits. Being authentic gives us the strength to set limits that protect our honesty and say no when we need to. By doing this, we put ourselves in a situation where we are not protective, but where we are confident and sure of ourselves. As we move towards sincerity, we learn that every problem, even disrespect, is a chance to learn, grow, and change. Our true strength is forged in the fire of authenticity, which lets us shine a light that not only guides us, but also shows others the way. Principle 7. It's smart to pick your fights. Stoic principle number 7 tells us that when we have to deal with disrespect, we should pick our fights wisely. It means understanding that not every situation calls for a straight reaction or a fight, and that our energy is important and should be used on things that really matter. Imagine that you are in a situation where you feel disrespected, but you also know that getting angry would not be the best thing to do. To be wise about picking your fights, you need to carefully consider how important the situation is and whether getting involved will help your well-being and help you reach your goals. As Bruce Lee said, the best way to overcome a temptation is to give in to it. This concept is based on the idea that not fighting every war is worth our time and energy. Sometimes letting disrespect go, unrecognized, is a strong way to keep our inner peace and keep our attention on what really matters. We practice being patient and strong when we pick our fights. Not every case calls for a quick reaction. It can be smart to wait until the right time to deal with disrespect in a mature way. According to Epictetus, patience is the key. Remember, the storm does not last forever. This advice tells us to think about what's most important to us and to save our energy for things that really affect our health and long-term goals. We don't respond automatically to every act of disrespect. Instead, we become aware of how we react and choose a road that shows how wise and emotionally mature we are. As the great author Mark Twain once said, "Never fight with a pig. It will get you dirty, and besides, the pig likes it." By doing this, we not only maintain our inner peace, but also show that we have conscious control over our actions. Principle 8. The virtue of caring about other people. The 8th Stoic principle tells us to develop the virtue of careful concern as we think about how to deal with disrespect. Understanding other people's points of view isn't enough for this virtue. We also need to think deeply about how we respond and try to understand each other when we disagree. Take a moment to imagine that someone is being disrespectful to you. Reflective empathy encourages you to look deeper and consider what may be motivating the other person's actions. Is there something I did or said that made this happen? As Seneca said, there is never a good reason to do wrong. This virtue is based on the idea that disrespect can be a sign of pain, fear, or frustration on the part of the other person. Reflective empathy pushes us to try to figure out why someone is acting badly, because it not only helps others, but also helps us understand the world better. Being reflectively empathetic also makes us think about how we respond to disrespect. What do we plan to do in response? Is our response spontaneous or based on thought? When we honestly evaluate ourselves, we not only boost our emotional intelligence, but we also show others how to deal with conflict in a way that leads to understanding instead of conflict. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be different from the person who hurt you." This principle fits with that idea. Thoughtful empathy lets us go beyond the automatic reaction of getting back at the person who hurt us, and instead seek understanding and relationship with others. Principle 9. Understanding leads to change. As we try to stop disrespect, the 9th Stoic principle tells us that we can change by learning. It's about doing more than just learning and reflecting. It's about actively engaging ourselves in the views and experiences that lead to disrespect. Imagine that you are in a place where disrespect is bound to happen. This concept tells you not to respond without thinking, but to dig deeper to find out what's really going on. What could the other person have been through that made them act this way? How can I help people understand each other better? As Seneca said, transformation through understanding means understanding and loving others as they are, not as we want them to be. This way of thinking encourages us to stop judging people right away and develop an open mind that lets us see past the disrespect that is on the surface. Active listening is a skill that is very useful in this process. It's not enough to just hear the words. You have to really understand what they mean, get in touch with the feelings behind them, and show that you want to understand. Not only does a deep knowledge end anger, it also sets the stage for better conversation. Understanding helps us change, but it also makes us think about our own biases and views. How do our own views and experiences might affect how we understand disrespect? Being honest about our flaws helps us understand things in a deeper and more complex way. Principle 10. The power of inner strength. When we have to deal with disrespect, the 10th and final Stoic principle teaches us how strong our inner strength is. People's actions are out of our control, but this principle tells us that we can build up our own strength so that we can handle disrespect with grace and drive. Imagine that you are in a tough spot where disrespect could upset your inner peace. Being like a tree that bends in the wind but doesn't break requires inner courage. This strength doesn't hide our feelings, it just helps us deal with them and get through them. Inner resolve is based on the idea that we can choose how to respond to being disrespected. Viktor Frankl said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. There is our power to choose our response. To become more resilient, you need to use that space to answer wisely instead of acting on impulse." This quote by Marcus Aurelius is very helpful. You have no control over what happens on the outside, but you always have control over how you respond. Inner resilience encourages us to be in charge of our responses and reminds us that our peace and well-being shouldn't depend on what other people do. Being resilient also means learning and growing from bad things that happen. Epictetus spoke wise words that help us on our way to inner strength. Do not worry about the things you cannot control. Since we can't change disrespectful people, we focus on building an inner strength that lets us deal with problems in a calm and strong way. In light of this last principle, let us remember that real strength doesn't come from being tough, but from moving with ease. Our inner strength gives us control over how we react, so we can handle disrespect with the grace and knowledge that come from being strong in our own right. Let's keep looking into these ideas, taking the light of courage with us as we go on our way to a full and real life. To many people, getting inside the minds of women is an exciting adventure that makes them want to learn more about how they think and act. Their actions and words are very important clues, so men need to be very aware and smart, even when they're just talking or making small movements. Understanding women's behavior not only helps you understand them better, but it also helps you make smart decisions about relationships. On the other hand, not all signals are always good. What women say and do can have big effects on love and life if you don't pay attention to them. Here are 10 things that a woman might say that might make you rethink the relationship and ask yourself if she really values your time and effort. It's not enough to just know yourself. You need to also make smart decisions about your future. Understanding and objectively evaluating the intricacies of relationships is key. To make bonds that last, you need to develop good ideals. First, it's always about her. Men often have trouble with the idea that they shouldn't show how they feel or talk too much about their daily lives. When they try to talk to their partners about it and get brushed off or ignored, this can make them feel very lonely. It's hard to share personal things because it's like telling someone, "Hey, I trust you with my feelings and experiences, but it hurts when that trust is broken or used for something unimportant. Imagine finally getting that big job promotion. You're so happy and proud of yourself that you want to tell your partner about the great news. You hope she shares your excitement. That being said, she'd rather talk about the newest tool or fashion fad. When she does this, it's like telling you, your big moment doesn't matter. Let's talk about something I find important instead. This can make your relationship very unstable. It seems like the other person's small hobbies are more important than one person's big accomplishments and feelings. That's not how a good relationship should work. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This is a fancy way of saying that it's really important for 2 people in a relationship to listen to each other and care about each other's lives. It's about understanding each other, enjoying wins together, and always being there for each other. It's important to know when your partner is being selfish or not giving you enough mental support. It has to do with caring about yourself and your mental health. It could mean having a serious conversation to work things out, or it could mean making hard choices about the relationship. In either case, it's about being happy and fulfilled in a relationship based on care and respect for each other. 2. I'm busy right now. We all know that work can be hard. You have a 9-to-5 job like everyone else. Even though you have a lot going on, you still make time for your family. This shows that your family is very important to you and that you make time for them even when you have important things to do. Congratulations on finding a good mix between work and family duties. It shows how much you care about your family and how well you can set goals. Seneca, an old Stoic philosopher, said, "We are more often scared than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." This quote shows how important it is to keep things in perspective and be strong when meeting life's difficulties. It teaches us to approach situations with a clear mind, realizing that our fears and perceptions of problems often make them worse than they really are. However, if your partner is constantly absent or not around, it makes you worry. When you try to get in touch with her, she says she's too busy or focused on work to talk. When someone loves a relationship, they will make time for their partner over other things, even if they have other things to do. Open conversation and mutual respect are important parts of any good relationship. It's also important to deal with any problems or disagreements with understanding and kindness. Basically, it's important to keep a balance between work and personal life, but you should never forget or settle on showing real interest and effort in relationships. To build strong relationships, people must consistently work at them, talk to each other, and be willing to put each other's happiness and well-being first. 3rd, that's something my ex used to do. People usually think it's rude to think about ex-partners when you're in a relationship. If your partner brings up their ex-partner all the time, you should be worried. This behavior can happen in many settings, like when you're shopping with her and she says, "My ex had great taste in clothes. He would have loved this outfit." These comments may not seem harmful, but they can make you feel inadequate and unsafe in your current relationship. You should know that if she keeps comparing you to her other relationships, it will hurt your chances of building a good, trusted relationship with her. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." This situation fits with the Stoic principle of focusing on what we can control. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Dwelling on past relationships is out of your control, and it's important to put your emotional health first by dealing with these behaviors in a relationship. If your partner keeps talking about past relationships, it could mean that they haven't fully moved on or are using your relationship as a way to avoid dealing with their feelings. This could make you a rebound partner instead of someone who is picked because they really want to connect with you. You need to be aware of these habits and not let yourself be used as a brief emotional crutch. It might be time to re-evaluate the relationship if your partner talks about their ex-partner a lot or just can't get over it. It's not good for your mental health or happiness to be in a bad position, and staying there can cause you extra pain. It's very important to talk about limits and standards in the relationship in an open and honest way. If, however, these talks don't lead to good changes, you might want to think about moving on. Remember that putting your own needs first is not selfish. It's an important part of keeping your relationship strong. The fourth one is, it's your fault. A very important red flag that many men miss in relationships is when a woman refuses to say sorry or take responsibility for her actions over and over again. This behavior is more than just a mistake or a one-time misunderstanding. It's part of a larger pattern of behavior that can have a big effect on how the relationship works. If you do something wrong in this case, she expects you to beg her forgiveness, even if the mistake is small. On the other hand, when she makes a mistake or acts badly, she suddenly puts the blame on you and doesn't take responsibility for her actions. Instead of admitting flaws and trying to solve the problem together, she puts the blame on you, which makes the situation unbalanced and harmful. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, said, "It's not what happens to you that matters, but how you react to it." This timeless wisdom shows how important it is to look inside yourself and take responsibility for your actions when dealing with problems in relationships or in general. Open conversation, equal respect, and taking turns being responsible are all important for healthy partnerships. Both people in a relationship must be ready to admit when they're wrong, truly say sorry, and then work together to make things better and grow. She not only weakens the basis of trust and respect by ignoring or downplaying her own mistakes while emphasizing yours, but she also starts a toxic loop of blaming and anger. It's important to be aware of this danger sign and deal with it in a mature and clear way. It's important to remember that relationships are based on trust and duty for each other. Forgiveness and gratitude are important parts, but they need to be respected and given by both people. If she repeatedly refuses to own up to her mistakes or work on better ways to communicate and solve conflicts, it could be a sign of greater problems with her emotional intelligence and growth. So, it's very important to look at the relationship's general health and fit. Even though it might be hard, stopping a relationship with these kinds of imbalances can help you grow as a person and find better ties. It's important to find a partner who values honesty, compassion, and mutual respect, as these are the building blocks of a long-lasting and valuable relationship. The fifth one is pointing out flaws. The ability to talk to each other in an open and helpful way is an important part of a good relationship. Not only should your partner hear what you have to say, but they should also give you feedback that helps you grow as a person. People should not constantly point out your flaws or weaknesses. Instead, they should encourage and inspire you to become the best version of yourself. This method builds trust and respect between both partners, making the relationship strong so that both individuals and the pair can grow. In contrast, if your partner constantly brings down your self-esteem or makes fun of your goals, that's a clear sign that the relationship might be toxic. In a healthy relationship, everyone has the right to feel good in their own clothes and be able to say what they really think. If these important things are being hurt by negative or constant criticism, it might be time to look at how the relationship works again. To build a good and satisfying relationship, it's important to be able to spot danger signs. When you're with your partner, you should feel safe and encouraged by each other. Their job is more than just being your friend. It's also to help you grow and make sure you feel respected and sure of yourself. Building a strong base on love and happiness is not only good for the relationship, it's important for it to grow and change in a good way over time. Seneca, a wise Stoic philosopher, said, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." This timeless quote sums up what it means to build relationships on understanding, support, and kindness. The Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes good deeds and important relationships, is consistent with choosing to be around people who support and inspire your growth. In the end, putting your mental health and personal growth first will lead to a satisfying and enriching relationship journey. No. 6. I don't have anyone else. Often, women depend on their partners to help them feel better, and they do this by saying something that has become overused. But it's important to be clear about what your part is in the relationship. You are her friend and equal, not her doctor or someone who can solve her problems. The most important thing you can do for her isn't to identify or treat her mental health problems or take on all of her problems. Even though you might want to be the hero and always be there for them, it's important to know what your job is. If she looks stressed out or powerless, that doesn't mean you should step in and save her. By taking on this role, you may unintentionally foster dependence and lead to a dangerous situation where she depends too much on you for mental security. Instead, she needs the help and advice of a professional therapist or counselor who can give her individualized mental health support. This expert help goes above and beyond what you can do as a partner and makes sure she gets full care for her health. If you don't recognize and accept these limits, it can cause tension and anger in the relationship over time. If you're always the one who can fix things, it can hurt your mental and emotional health and make you feel inadequate or angry. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do, the famous Stoic philosopher Epictetus said. This quote reminds us of how important it is to know ourselves and set reasonable goals. By being aware of your own limits and putting your own health first, you can make the relationship better. This could even mean having open and honest talks with her about getting professional help and pushing her to take action on her mental health journey. Putting your own mental health first and setting clear limits can lead to a happier and more healthy relationship in the long run, which is good for both of you. 7th, it wasn't anything important. Finding out that your partner has been cheating on you is without a doubt one of the worst things that can happen in a relationship. It goes right to the heart of trust, which is what keeps any real relationship between two people going. When someone betrays you in this way, it breaks not only the emotional bond, but also the shared respect and understanding that should exist between partners. Stoic teacher Seneca said it well, "Lack of trust is the first step toward disintegration." When someone cheats on their partner, they often feel a lot of different feelings, from shock and disbelief to anger and sadness. It makes you question what you think about the relationship and the shared ideals and promises that seemed solid at first. The person who was duped may feel bad about themselves and wonder what they could have done differently to keep the trust from being broken. When this happens, it's important to put your own self-respect and mental health first. The cheating partner may try to downplay how bad their actions were by saying it was an isolated incident. It is important to understand how serious the situation is. Trust that has been broken can't be quickly restored, and repeated promises may not ring true after being broken in the past. Infidelity is also more than just having a sexual encounter with someone else. It shows a deep lack of respect for the emotional purity of the relationship. It shakes up the basis of love and friendship that was built over time, adding doubt and fear. If your partner has been cheating on you, ending the relationship is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you value your own worth and respect. It takes courage to be honest, have ethics, and look for real bonds based on trust and respect for each other. Even though it might be hard to leave a relationship where someone has betrayed you, Staying in it only makes the emotional turmoil last longer and keeps both people from finding true satisfaction and happiness. On the 8th spot is being too sensitive. When you say it to your partner, "Oh, you're being too sensitive," this seemingly harmless comment can mean a lot. In a relationship, it's not enough to just be sensitive. You need to also accept and understand each other. It's disappointing when your partner finds fun in making fun of your mistakes or calling your deepest losses trivial. Instead of understanding or an apology, you get a dismissive comment about your sensitivity when you muster the courage to speak up about these hurtful actions. The point that is often given is that people should be able to handle criticism and joking without getting upset. That being said, there is a thin line between friendly joking and harmful behavior, especially when it's your partner who should be there for you and help you understand. It's not what happens to you that counts, but how you respond to it, as the Stoic philosopher Epictetus widely said. This is also true in relationships. Not only does your partner not recognize your feelings, but they also use them against you. That's a red flag. Insults that are meant to be funny or comparisons to other people's wins will only make you feel bad about your own worth. It's important to know when these kinds of relationships turn toxic and hurt your health. For personal growth and happiness, it's critical to be around people who make you feel good and give you courage to grow. You can expect your partner to accept, understand, and be kind, and it's important to set limits when those needs aren't met. Relationships should be a source of support and happiness, not a constant fight to show how strong you are against mean comments. 9. Obey me. In many relationships, women are in charge of making sure their male partner's plans are met. It's normal for them to ask about plans or spending time with friends. This is a sign of a good relationship where both people support each other's social lives. But this care can become a problem if it turns into dominating behavior. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." It's a red flag if your partner starts to expect loyalty or asks you to give up your hobbies and time with friends. It's fine for her to have opinions about your friends, but limiting the time you spend with them is worrying. If she gives you ultimatums and says you have to pick between her and your friends, you should think about ending the relationship. Keep in mind that your happiness and freedom are the most important things, and giving them up so someone else can control you is not good. Epictetus's lessons tell us that our freedom and health should come first. To get through these kinds of problems in relationships, you need to be able to communicate clearly. Talking about needs, limits, and standards in an open and honest way can help people understand and respect each other. A healthy relationship has a mix of individual goals and shared experiences. This way, both people can stay in touch with their friends and follow their own hobbies without feeling stifled or controlled. It's important to know the danger signs, like being given ultimatums that make you choose between a lover and your friends. This wise saying from Epictetus tells us that giving up our own happiness and freedom for the sake of keeping things the same in our relationships is not a good idea. True happiness in relationships comes from supporting each other, respecting each other's privacy, and letting each other follow their own interests and ties outside of the relationship. In the end, if a relationship becomes stifling or stops you from growing and being happy, you may need to reevaluate your goals and make choices that put your general health first. 10th accusation: you are cheating. If you don't handle it carefully, accusations of cheating can really mess up a relationship, leading to a lot of distrust and pain. It's very important to be kind and understanding in these cases, but you should also stand up for yourself and what you think is right. Trust is the strong base on which everything else stands in a good relationship. It makes both people feel safe and important. But when questions and fears make trust shaky, it can make everything feel less safe. When someone says you cheated on them without any proof, you should try to understand why they feel that way. People can feel very jealous and suspicious when they don't talk about their feelings or because of hurt feelings from the past. You should be honest about how you feel and not point the finger at each other, so you can understand where the other person is coming from and get through it together. Many people say, trust yourself and others will trust you too. This means that you should stay true to your ideals and views even when things get hard. But it's also important to set limits and deal with habits like bugging your privacy or blaming you over and over again for no reason. If you see early signs of doubt, like your partner going through your things or always asking where you've been, you should talk to them about it in a quiet and polite way. If you respect each other, talk to each other, and work through problems together, you can rebuild trust and make your relationship better. But if the charges keep coming even after you've tried to talk things out, it may be time to get help from someone else or think about ending the relationship. In the end, accusing someone of stealing without a good reason can hurt the relationship and both people involved. Couples can get through hard times and come out better if they trust each other, talk to each other honestly, and treat each other with respect. As the saying goes, believing yourself is the first step to gaining the trust of others. This shows how important it is to stay true to yourself, even when things are hard. As we wrap up today's talk, let's go over the most important and useful lessons for building a good relationship. There are a few important things that you must do in order to have a happy and successful relationship with a woman. It's important to look into these things to make sure that partners have a good base and understand each other. Women, like everyone else, are greatly affected by their feelings, which often determine how they act and what they do. However, this inner depth doesn't take away from the need for logic and consistency in relationships. Maintaining a sense of mutual respect is the most important thing. This means treating each other with respect, kindness, and care, even when you disagree or face a problem. In a relationship, respect is the building block on which trust, love, and a real bond are formed. Also, good conversation is a key part of building understanding and settling disagreements. Partners can clearly say what they think, feel, and need when they talk to each other in an open and honest way. This creates a safe place for openness and closeness. It means actively listening, having understanding, and being ready to see things from the other person's point of view without judging or defending yourself. Sharing beliefs and goals is a big part of having a successful relationship, along with respect and talking to each other. While having opinions can be good, sharing core principles like honesty, ethics, and commitment improves a relationship. It gives people a sense of togetherness and purpose, encouraging them to work together and help each other through life's difficulties and to celebrate successes with each other. Also, building trust is an important part of a good relationship. Being consistent, dependable, and open in your words and deeds builds trust. Being reliable, keeping promises, and following limits are all parts of it. Trust is what makes people feel safe emotionally, and it lets them be honest and open without worrying about being betrayed or judged. In a relationship, it's also important to support each other's growth and self-care. As people and as a pair, you can live a healthy and satisfying life by supporting each other's personal goals, hobbies, and self-care habits. Expressing, exploring, and improving oneself deepens the bond by recognizing and praising each other's unique traits and paths. The health and happiness of the relationship can be jeopardized by ignoring warning signs or putting up with toxic behaviors. It's important to deal with problems like manipulation, disrespect, or lack of understanding right away, and if you need to, get professional help. Setting healthy limits, having self-respect, and caring about your emotional health are all important for making a relationship last and be satisfying. In conclusion, if you want to have a happy and satisfying relationship with a woman, you need to put respect, conversation, shared values, trust, personal growth, and mental well-being at the top of your list. Partners can build a strong and long-lasting relationship based on love, support, understanding, and a shared goal for the future by taking care of these things with love and commitment. Building and maintaining a healthy relationship is an ongoing process that requires partners to keep working at it, understanding each other, and being flexible as they handle life's challenges together, getting closer and stronger with each shared experience. As you step forward with the powerful insights from Stoic philosophy, remember that overcoming panic is a journey of continuous growth and practice. You've equipped yourself with the tools to face your fears, to calm the storm within, and to approach life's challenges with a new sense of poise and strength. Keep applying these principles daily, and soon you'll find that what once overwhelmed you now feels manageable. Thank you for embarking on this transformative path. Stay committed to this practice, and you will discover not just fewer moments of panic, but a life enriched with clarity and resilience. Remember, you are the master of your emotions, and with Stoicism, you hold the key to lasting peace. Here's to a calmer, braver you.